where the federal government taxes an area and bars the state from ever doing it. Because the federal government have now abandoned that, there is no authority under the Constitution for them to go back and charge you a tax on your land. So all land tax rates and everything else on your land is invalid. You think if you went before the court's going to say, oh yeah, good boy, it's all in the legislature, we're going to do it. Not likely. The courts are supposed to be there for you, but they're not. And never think they are, because they certainly are not. If you go before a court, you're banging your head against the wall. None of you here, I wouldn't recommend any of you go before the court singly, but as a group, you can. You cannot use a normal everyday lawyer because they aren't normal in the head. They're all got the mindset of the government because they were under the Acts Amendment and Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act, Section 5, they were made officers of the court, which is actual treason because a lawyer can't be an officer of the court. Just like a cop can't be an officer of the court. It's an impossibility. Total impossibility. So what we've really got is a group of people taxing our land, claiming to do all this work for us, provide all these services for us, and they're actually providing zero. When a developer takes a parcel of land and divides it up, he grants to the government the area of land for roads, area of land for parks, area of lands for future shops, if it's been zoned for that. Then the developer puts in the roads, the footpaths, the power, the water, the gas, all your phone lines, all the amenities, and pays $7,000 to $9,000 a block goodwill to the council for future work on those blocks. The council should then put that aside to do the work, if they were a legitimate body, but they're not. If you look in the paper recently, they lost millions of dollars on the stock exchange because they were playing with it where they shouldn't have been playing with it. That is our money. Well, it's not mine because I never donated to them yet, nor am I going to. But the issue is, everything the council claims to do, the developer did. When you buy the block of land, you pay for it. You actually own your block of land right smack to the centre of the road. But from your front fence to the centre of the road is deemed to be public open space. That public open space belongs to the Crown, does not belong to the government and does not belong to the council. The parks that you paid for belong to the Crown, not the government, not the council. The council claims them, oh, we've got to do this work on it. They've already been paid by the developer to develop that park. But they want to hoist your rates up to pay for that park. Why do we do it? Because we're deemed to be a pack of sheep. The government says jump, you say how high, and what else do you want me to do? And people do it. I know it's a difficult thing for people to turn and say to the council, get off my property. The last time they come on my property, which was 4.5 years ago, I put the root bar of my F-250 four-wheel drive against the back of their Commodore Ute and pushed it down a 200-metre long gravel drive out into the middle of the road. They rung the cops rung me up, and I said, I told them to get off my property, they refused, so I used reasonable force. I just crap off my property, and that's where it belongs, off the property. Tell them not to come back or I'll break their legs. You can't do that. I said, if you don't want me to break their legs, tell them not to come back. It's a simple thing. It's my property. I paid for it. People have to wake up. This piece of land is your whole life. You work your guts out all your life to buy your piece of land. But you don't own it. Because some noodle brain sitting in Parliament thinks, these people are not going to have this. We're going to get it back off them. They legislate through the Local Government Act. They've got all these claims over your land. Go and build a house and see what the Water Corporation's got over your land. There's 37 things you've got to comply with just for the Water Corporation. Then they want you to select an area where they can put their sewage. Their sewage. You do not have to pay for sewage. The High Court ruled in the Metwally case, Metwally versus the Wollongong Shire, in 1992. You don't have to have any service you don't want or need, nor do you have to pay for it. I've got 66,000 gallons of rainwater. I've got 11,000 gallon rainwater tanks, and I've got a bore and another tank. My argument with the Water Corporation was they had a rusty old standpipe on my property. They wanted $250 to remove it. They wanted $500 to put another one on, then they wanted $180 to put a meter on. I said, well, you're supplying the service, where's the service? You want me to pay for all of this? Well, too bad. And I said, well, too bad on you, get your crap off my property. I'm not going to do it. So I sent them a bill, $50 a week rent for their pipe being on my property. Of course, they just ignored it. After 12 months, I sent them another one, giving them 7 days to remove it. After 7 days, I sent them 24 hours, and they didn't do it. So my four-wheel drive come in handy again. I backed up to it, put a chain around, pulled it out of the ground. And then I ended up with a 30-foot water spout. And believe me, I did it. They turned up with the police, and they wanted to take me away, and I said, well, you can't, because this is a corporation. This is a civil matter. They had their property on mine, I just removed it. And the cop says, I'm not getting involved in this, got in his car and took off. And the Water Corporation said, we're going to see us, be my guest. So I got a summons back to court for about the 15th time with these government departments, and I pleaded not guilty and got it moved from Perth, because they conveniently have it in Perth. I mean, the Water Corporation's in Geraldton, where I live, and I live in Geraldton, so obviously you would think it would go to the Geraldton court. But the Water Corporation and all the other departments, they put it into Perth. Same as the councils from Geraldton, put it in Fremantle court. What the hell do you want it in Fremantle? You live in Geraldton. The council's in Geraldton. But this is what they pulled. So anyway, I pleaded not guilty and asked for it to go to trial. They had to submit their submissions. They put about 114 different submissions. I put 28 sections of the Constitution. They removed it. So I filled out a statement of claim. They removed the case from the court. I filled out a statement of claim, and I got $25,000 in costs for inconvenience and all the rest of the things they caused me to do with their little garbage they pulled on me with their little writ. Last week the council pulled the same thing. Last Friday they withdrew their current summons to the court, which has sat there for 2 years and destroyed my credit rating for 2 years. So I went to the court and said, well, you've just withdrawn this application for this case to go to trial in this court. And he said, yes. I said, but it's signed civic legal. He said, yeah. I said, well, the cable decision in the High Court, CLR 189 of 96, states you've got to sign that with a lawful signature of a flesh and blood person. I said, who's civic legal? He said, I don't know. So I pulled out my phone and dialed their number, and I said, ask them. I said, ask them to talk to Mr. Civic Legal. And the girl said, there's no one of that name here. This was on the speaker. And I said, well, that's correct. So who withdrew this case out of the court? So it's still sitting here, isn't it? And he said, yeah. I said to Steve, the registrar there, give me the documents. I want to submit an application. He said, what for? I said, $1.5 million damages, plus unspecified damages for what they've done to me over the years. He said, this will have to go to the Supreme Court. I said, no. It's going from here, federal court, straight into the High Court. That is your rights under the Constitution to do that. Don't ever back away. If you stop these utilities serving you, because that's all they are, if you stop them suing you, go after them. Get your cost. It costs next to nothing to do it. $147 to put a writ into the local court, $340 in the district, $16.50 into the Supreme Court, and $14.70 into the High Court. It rolls off my tongue a bit, but I have to sell a bit of machinery to afford it. But it's worth doing, because they're your rights. You have a constitution which gives you more rights than anyone else. The highest authority in this country is in here. It's you. Each and every one of you is the highest authority in this country. Page 230 in here, in comments on the contrary by Clark, one of the people who wrote the Constitution, he states, if it was asked by a politician what's the highest authority in this country, he'd say the state constitution. He said it leads near to the truth, but it doesn't reach it, because the highest authority is the people and their sovereignty over everything in this country. If you go on the Hansard of 1898,